Welcome to Pearls of Wisdom, your guide to extraordinary weddings and events. I'm your host, Ashley Miner, and we're here to share expert insights and inspiring stories. Let's dive into the art of creating unforgettable moments. Okay, hello, everybody. Welcome to Pearls of Wisdom. I am the guest for the day, all by myself, by my lonesome, but wanted to bring you some spooky stories in honor of Halloween this week. There are so many things that could go wrong when you don't have a wedding planner. And I feel like it's my duty to educate why you should have a wedding planner. Obviously, I think you should have a wedding planner because it makes everything way more fun, way less stress, way less things that could go wrong. But sometimes with a wedding planner, things still go wrong. And mistakes are made, things happen, but it could be a whole lot spookier if you don't have someone to help you. So we're going to say 10 reasons why you should have a wedding planner. Hopefully we make it to 10. Number 1, what happens if you book someone and they don't show up? Well, what would happen without a wedding planner is your mom is chasing that person down. Let me tell you about a time this last spring when a client of ours booked a dessert through a company, very well-known company, who actually doesn't deliver. She didn't know that. She thought she was ordering from a grocery store, and the grocery store was going to deliver the wedding cake. Well, 3 p.m. rolls around, and I'm like, hey, you guys, is the cake here yet? My team's like, Ashley, it's not here yet. I'm like, okay, guests get here in an hour. If it's not here in 30 minutes, we've really got to figure this out. Still wasn't there, 3:30. I'm like, okay, let's call the grocery store. We call the grocery store and they're like, haha, funny because we don't actually deliver desserts. So you're going to have to come and get them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this wedding is starting in 30 minutes. What in the world are we going to do? So what happens without a wedding planner? Your mom, your aunt, your dad, your uncle, your cousin, whoever is leaving, driving in town, right? This venue was not in town. It was 30 minutes to get to the grocery store. So it's 3:30. They're leaving. Your ceremony's at 4. They're missing the ceremony. Womp, womp. That is scary. That is spooky. That is not highly recommended. So what we chose to do was I just sent one of our team members. And again, that is why we never go alone anywhere. There's always at least 2 of us so that we can do things like that. I can handle the ceremony by myself while another one of us has to run to the grocery store to get all of your desserts, make sure that they're set up before your reception starts. So it's like it was always there and that was what was intended. So spooky story number 1, your vendors don't show up. Your wedding planners have your back. Number 2, timeline. Who does it? If there's not a planner, I'll tell you who does it. Your photographer and your DJ. And oftentimes those 2 things don't match up. You want to know why? Because they're not talking to each other. The photo people, video people, they're in charge of doing their timeline for your photos. DJs are in charge of doing timeline for your reception. Who's doing the timeline for your ceremony? Who's walking down when, what song is playing, who's talking at what time, when does the reader get up, when do they get a microphone, who has the microphone, who's bringing the microphone, where does the microphone live? There's a million things that go into creating a timeline that's not just we're getting ready at 8 o'clock, we're doing a first look at 1 o'clock, then we're doing couples portraits at 2:30. Our ceremony's at 3. Like there's so much more that goes into it and so many details that can get overlooked if you're relying on 2 vendors who may or may not have worked together before to do those things. Second to that is if you are relying on your photo and video team or your DJ to provide you timelines, then what happens if things get off track? Who's reeling it back in? Those people are responsible for bringing it back in, but they're the ones who are responsible for getting it off track in the first place. So do we have confidence that it is going to get back on track in a easy, non-disruptive way to your guest experience? So without a planner, it can go to chaos and get spooky real quick, if you ask me. Number 3, spooky thing that could happen. Let's say you're having an outdoor wedding and it's raining. What do you do? Who's making those decisions? Your mom? Well, do you want to be mad at your mom? Give her authority over what's going to happen on your wedding day and give her every decision-making power to make a decision about the weather on that day. Here's the thing. What we have started doing with our couples is we start looking at the weather a week ahead. We're like, hey, let's look ahead of the weather. What's a rain plan? Just in case, right? We've never had to use this rain plan, but just in case, let's have it. And then let's have a backup to that one as well, just in case. Then Wednesday rolls around, we're touching base again. Hey, just want to make sure that we feel confident in these rain plans. What's going to happen if it's raining at 3:30 and ceremony's at 4 and it's outside at Cooper's Ridge? Are we comfortable pushing it back 20, 30 minutes? Or can we open the bar 30 minutes ahead? So there's all of these contingency plans that our team can start getting into place for you a week before, 4 days before, and then we're making the decision on Saturday. Again, if you're doing an outdoor ceremony, everything is set up and a storm is rolling in and we've decided to move it all inside. Who's moving your stuff? Is it your wedding planning team or is it your family who's already dressed up, makeup's done, hair's done, they're in suits, and now they're being rained on? Or do you want your wedding planner looking like a drowned rat? Because that has happened before, but I'm a really cute drowned rat, if I might say so myself. And I don't mind, right? Our team doesn't mind. We're there to get down and dirty on your behalf so that you can have the best day ever. And you want that to be people who are not your family members or your friends doing that for you. So don't leave the weather up for chance. Have a good contingency plan in place and definitely having a planning team there who can quickly make decisions and make them happen on your behalf. Okay. Number 4, unmanaged guests. Guests who don't know where they're going or what they're doing or what time this is supposed to be at or where do I go to put a gift, or I can tell you, I get a million questions by guests who arrive early, arrive late, arrive with stuff, whatever it is. And I can promise that you do not want to be bothered with a million questions on your wedding day. In fact, at our rehearsals, I make everybody hold their pinky up. And I say, okay, everybody, we're making a pinky promise and you're going to repeat after me. I state your name, will not go to couple's name today or tomorrow with any questions. I promise I will come to you, Ashley. And then I make them lock it in because a pinky promise is binding forever and ever. Amen. And everyone knows that. Duh. But, you don't want to be managing and fielding questions all dang day long. Here's another one. We have had a groomsman, right? Your bridal party are still considered guests. So we've had a groomsman who was told that he had to wear brown shoes. You have to wear the brown shoes. And he chose to wear gray shoes. And I went up to him and I said, excuse me, where's your brown shoes? And he said, they're really uncomfortable and I'm not wearing them. And I said, oh my gosh, really? My shoes are really uncomfortable too. But guess what? I'm here for your friends and your friends want you to wear the brown shoes. Could you wear the brown shoes? And I was joking with them. And guess what? This dude walked 2 blocks to the hotel to go get his brown shoes. But the bride felt uncomfortable asking her fiance to ask his friend to put on the brown shoes. I'm willing to be the bad guy 9 times out of 10 to say, hey, groomsman, you little cutie butt, let's put those brown shoes on. Okay. And all is well. So there's definitely situations like that where you're there to enjoy your day, not to pick a fight with groomsmen or Aunt Betty or whoever about their choice of attire for the day. I will be that person for you. Enough said. Decor disasters. Wow. We could talk about this for the entire episode of what a spooky thing could be. I tell our clients all the time, I want to know what it is that you're picturing if we're setting it up, right? So if you want pink flowers, I need photos of all of your inspiration of pink flowers so that if the florist shows up with black flowers, I know to say to that florist, oh my gosh, these were not supposed to be black. These were supposed to be pink. Here's the inspiration photos that I was shown by said client. Can we fix this somehow? And so, there are those things that happen. There's mistakes that happen all of the time. You send battery-powered candles, but forgot the batteries. Who goes and gets the batteries? You think that you have enough chargers, but you're short by 5. Who goes and gets those chargers? Linens are supposed to be white, but they're ivory. There's so many different things that can happen when it comes to your decor that might not go as planned. And it could result in ugly photos or ugly videos or you walking in and being like, whoa, this is not what I thought it was going to be or whatever. And so again, this is why you hire a team who helps you, at least 60 days in to say, okay, this is what everything is going to look like so that we can help you problem solve before the day of, not on the day. Okay. Next, what happens when there's missing or damaged items? That's happened, right? Without someone who's managing the setup and the breakdown, important items like a cake topper, rings, special keepsakes, those things could get damaged. They could go missing. I have heard horror stories about card boxes going missing or getting stolen. So, again, it takes pre-planning to know who's in charge of the card box. At what point is that getting pulled? And all of these things have to go into the master timeline so that we can check those items off and say, okay, Team Delight did not move the card box, but Aunt Wanda moved the card box to the bridal suite because she was the designated person for the card box. We know where every single thing is. And when we're packing it up at the end of the night, we're taking inventory of everything that was damaged, missing. We set up 100, but now there's only 98. Or, whatever. We're counting every single napkin that goes in the A1 basket because we know A1 expects 100 napkins to be brought back. Where are the 2 extra ones? Do we need to call catering and see if maybe they actually accidentally took them? Or where are the freaking napkins? But that should not be on you. That should not be on your mom or your grandma at the end of the night. That should be on your planning team. Okay. Next, vendor conflicts. They happen, unfortunately, and they are indeed very spooky and creepy. But, what happens when a caterer runs out of food? What happens when a DJ doesn't play the right song in the ceremony? What happens when a makeup artist doesn't like the hair team? All of these things happen. And who do you want to help get those, communication lines back open in a positive and beneficial way for you, the client? You don't want to deal with that. That's not fair to you. You don't know the whole history of these vendors, why they hate each other, why they're going to have a brawl in the bridal suite in the morning. You just want to know that your hair and makeup's going to look bomb and you're going to look snatched, right? So let me be honest here. I do this 35 plus weddings in a year. I hear more than most people what's going on within our industry and within our vendor community. So I oftentimes know so-and-so has beef with so-and-so. So what am I saying when a client books with us a year ahead and they say, oh, we want to work with Sally and Betty? I say, okay, I love both of them, but I'm going to be honest with you. Sally and Betty don't really get along. Here's who Sally loves working with, or here's who Betty loves working with. Maybe you should consider them as a team versus putting those two together. Because why would I do something like that? Because it's going to benefit you on the morning of your wedding. I know it's going to be seamless. I know it's going to be peaceful. I know it's going to be fun. And that's what you deserve on your wedding day. Not Sally and Betty who are bickering or fighting over who's going to do the hair or the makeup first or what order comes first. Who cares? Just get it done and everyone play nice in the sandbox together. I'm trying not to go into a rant, but you don't want to have to be put into the middle of those vendor conflicts or situations that are uncomfortable, right? I am there. Our team is there to work on your behalf, not just on your wedding day, but prior to as well, and to guide you to the right vendor team for your budget, your preference, your style, your aesthetic, all of those things. You don't want to have to just willy-nilly pick vendors that you think are going to be great. Rant over. That spooky story can be done. Okay. Last minute emergencies. What happens if your dress tears? What happens if we can't if your bustle buttons fall off? What happens if a groomsman splits his pants? Let me tell you, that did happen one time right before the ceremony. He bent down to pet a dog and the groomsman's pants just split right up the back. And thank goodness we had a sewing kit. Just quickly got it done. But, last minute emergencies. Again, you could be running all over Timbuktu or a family member to solve these emergencies. Or even worse, ceremony could run 30, 45 minutes behind because you have this emergency going on and no one is there to solve it except for your parents or your family, right? I think everyone's kind of probably getting the gist of who handles emergencies, who's handling things if you don't have a wedding planner, and oftentimes it's falling on your family or you. And that's not always the most fair situation. That sounds pretty scary if you ask me. Okay, I think we're on 9. I think we're on number 9. Budget. I could just say budget and everyone would be like, spooky. I hate talking about money. I do too. But working with a planner, definitely, I joke, right? I love spending other people's money, but I love spending it in ways that matter. So to me, while paper is absolutely beautiful, unless you are a graphic designer or a calligraphy buff, or paper is something that is extremely important to you, I'm not going to direct you to put a large portion of your budget in paper. I'd rather let's do something that's beautiful and representative of you and your wedding and you as a couple, but maybe let's not spend $3,000 on that. Let's say $1,000, and then we'll put those $2,000 into flowers, which can stretch a whole lot further. That can be an amazing arbor. That can be an amazing sweetheart table piece. That can be a hanging installation. So it helps to work with someone who knows, hey, here's an average budget for floral, for example. Here's an average budget for desserts for 200 people. Here's an average bar budget. Hey, your venue was on the higher side of budget, so let's, allocate it here, and here versus paper. I'm always going to go back to paper because that's the easiest way to cut down your budget is on paper. But it can be kind of scary just to start booking vendors or booking things without knowing, is this in line with what you're seeing? Again, we're doing 30 plus weddings in a year. We know most of the time, we know our clients' budgets. And so we can say, Yeah, our average budget on flowers this year is between $5,000 and $7,000 for someone who values flowers. For someone who does not value flowers, maybe that's closer to $3,000, and that will get you bouquets, boutonnieres, and some flowers down your tables. But if you're just kind of going willy-nilly, booking vendors or booking things that you think are awesome because you've seen it on TikTok or Instagram, well, sister, you better buckle up for a 6-figure wedding because it adds up real quick. And it could get pretty scary. And then you're not going to get things that you really want, like a cinematographer or a photo booth, if that's something that you value. You'll just kind of get what you get and be happy about it. Scary. Okay, very last, an overstretched couple. That is always very, very scary. I always say, this is my full-time job so that it doesn't have to be your full-time job plus your already full-time job, right? Most of our couples are in their 20s and 30s. They have full-time jobs that they are focused on and growing in their career. They don't need a second job planning their wedding, right? You would much prefer enjoying the journey and not stressing out and having someone to help guide you along versus you come home and at 5:30 we're sitting down and we're talking about the budget, or at 6 p.m. we're going to make our family photo list, and then at 6:30 we're going to work on our invitations. And it becomes really not fun really quick. And I can tell you, most grooms always come to us at the end and they're like, thank God for you, because before I was helping with all this stuff and I don't know what I'm doing. And I was just like able to show up and relax and everything was taken care of. And I'm just so glad, and most families say that to us too. Thank you so much that we didn't have to do all of this alone, or that you guided us in the right ways to the right people to make today so amazing. And, I think we do a pretty dang good job of it. I think we try and keep all of our couples' personalities and, preferences and intentions. We try to keep those things top of mind so that we can help you have the most stress-free, fun day, so you can just walk away from your wedding with memories to last you a lifetime versus stress that takes weeks, months, years to unravel. Believe me, I promise you I know what I'm talking about, because I was a little bit one of those brides where I did get to show up and I loved my wedding and it was great, but all of the things leading up, they were really stressful. And if I just was able to just go, boop, off my plate, we're done, that would have been a dream come true. 95% of it was there. Mima, don't come for me. Mima is my mother. She's going to come and she's going to be like, you had the best wedding ever. I did have a very fun wedding, but there was also stressful moments in there. Okay, memes? I know what I'm talking about. Okay. Anyway, 10 spooky stories that don't have to be so spooky if you have a wedding planning team who loves you and cares for you and just wants the best for you on your side. Okay, everybody have a great Halloween. Ta-ta. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's Pearls of Wisdom podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Miner with Delight Events. As always, you can find us all over the internet by following us on Instagram at Delight Events Mo and on Facebook. And please consider leaving us a review here for the podcast. Subscribe if you're on YouTube or on Spotify. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.